Spangled Banner by a fine youth choir here from Toledo, and we are just about set for hockey. And as is a tradition in the ECHL, after the first of the year, when the calendar turns, the teams reverse jerseys, so the Komets will be in their traditional home whites on the road, and the Walleye will wear dark jerseys. They are wearing blue on blue tonight. And as we take a look at the starting lineups for the Komets, the red-hot Pat Nagle will be in goal. On defense, it'll be Drew Daniels and Curtis Leonard. And up front, Mike Embach, the reigning ECHL Player of the Week, who has been on a tear, Dominique Alberga, and Garrett Meurs. Jeff Lerg is back for Toledo, so he will get the start in goal. On defense, as we take a look at the defenseman for the Walleye, it'll be Scott Zarnazan and Jared Nightingale. And up front, A.J. Jenks, the center, Tyler Sakura on the left side, Shane Berschbach will be the right wing. Our officials for tonight's game, the referee is Andy Howard, and the linesmen are Jesse Pletch and Jake Davis. So the Komets have not had much luck lately here in the Huntington Center, hoping to turn that around and complete a perfect weekend of winning 3 in a row. Again, they won the home-and-home series with state rival Indianapolis, a 7-0 thrashing of the Fuel on New Year's Eve at the Coliseum. Pat Nagle with a shutout. They came back to win 2-1 last night in Indianapolis, and then wrapping up 3-3 tonight here in the Huntington Center against Toledo. So the teams come to center ice. It'll be Alberga centering Embach and Meurs. And then Jenks will be centering Sakura and Berschbach. A bit of a delay while they get the gate shut at the far end at the goal that Pat Nagle will defend. So Andy Howard is set to drop the biscuit, and we are just about underway here from the Huntington Center in downtown Toledo. Push back toward the Komet zone. It's in the skates of Meurs. He tries to poke it ahead, though. Intercepted, and it's dumped into the Komet corner. Racing in and chasing it down is Zarnazan. Now he spins, tries to center, and that deflects off the stick that time of Berschbach. Jenks keeps it in. Funny Karamov behind the boards, and that time it was guided back into the corner by Daniels. Good early forecheck, though, by the Walleye. Zarnazan, who had pinched in from his defensive position. Now along the half wall, they try to center in the feet of Embach, but Zarnazan controls. One-timer that time. Sticked aside, Berschbach put it right on, and Nagle tested early. Meurs is pinched off the play by Jenks, who loses an edge. Now the Komets, Embach with a drive. Big pad save that time by Lerg. So the Komets with a good effort by Embach early on. Now the teams look for a change here in the opening minute of play. Cycling it ahead that time was Jordan Southorn, now spinning as Embach. Embach glides along his blue line. Feathers in a high backhand pass that swatted down that time. Kays look to put a little more pressure on. Joel Schwinnard, big defenseman, leaves it for his mate, Bo Schmitz. Now the pass is centered to Dominic Zombo. Zombo tries to split the Komet D, but has his pocket pick. Southorn, long pass served off the boards. Thompson, along the half wall, puts the bad angle shot that slides through the goal mouth. Komets can't keep it in. It comes back to neutral. Sean Sidlowski back to his point. Comes ahead to Southorn, who lets it just deflect off his stick into neutral ice. Slammed back in quickly that time by Bo Schmitz. And the teams will change lines, and it'll be a whistle, and they'll bring the puck back to center ice for a face-off. Kind of a makeshift line here. Michael Leone with Kyle Bushy and Max Gady for Toledo. Two of these guys are primarily defensemen. Leone is a center. Going up against the Kyle Thomas line. Now along the boards, pinched in by Bushy. Gets it behind the net. Gady leaves. Now racing to find the play is Big Will Weber of the Komets. Brock Montgomery, who just came off the injured list last night. Tries to put it to neutral, then he bumps into his man. That time it was Derek Dockin taking the hit. Now Weber again. Bumped off the play that time by Bushy. Kyle Thomas just administers a big body check that time to Leone. Kays, though, are being trapped in their own zone momentarily. Again, behind the net, racing in is Leone. Feeds it behind, nobody home, and now Thomas has it deep in his corner, rings it around the boards. And the Toledo player, Bushy, didn't see it as he was going for a change. Racing back is Derek Dokken as again the Komets come out with fresh forces. Dokken along the boards, bumped heavily by Meurs. Alberga leaves for Embach. Embach with a big shot, another good pad save. And that time Alberga tries to center the rebound behind the net. Berschbach, his pass is intercepted. There'll be a drive from the point as Leonard, well, this time he'll just dump it into the corner. Meurs loses an edge, and that time Embach steps into Nightingale. So a little bit of the physical play picking up here in the early going. Curtis Leonard slides it across. Drew Daniels surveys the landscape, tries to get it ahead to Meurs, but intercepted by Jenks. Here comes Toledo with numbers. Berschbach with a shot score. A turnover by the Komets, and the Walleye with tremendous transition. Berschbach saw a little seam at the top of the circle, and a terrific shot that caromed off the post and then past the blocker side glove of Pat Nagle, and the Walleye on the board first as they take the 1-0 lead. Pretty goal by Berschbach. And this is a tough place for an opponent to play behind from, and in a Detroit Red Wing tradition, a squid finds its way on the ice. Well, apparently it wasn't a true squid. Somebody threw a big, fat, happy walleye on the ice. Komets now try to get it deep. Berschbach again with the goal. His 7th of the season. Jenks gets an assist. .309 the time of the goal, so just over 3 minutes in, the Walleye with the 1-0 lead. Now that's dumped into the Komet quarter. Southhorn trying to win the race. Spins behind his net. Manages to poke it past Dominic Zombo, but now Southhorn has to regroup. Caroms it off the boards with hot pursuit by Zombo. Well, again, near neutral ice, Kashirski lost an edge. That time Thompson aggressively pursuing Schmitz. Now a big drive, that time Sidlowski, and a good blocker save by Lerg. Sidlowski has been a red-hot Komet lately. Gaze can't keep it in, so Weber has to backpedal. Now he'll just snap it into the corner. Lerg behind the net. Will leave it for Joel Schwinnard. So Schwinnard quarterbacking the breakout, takes a look, fires it way up ahead. Gathered in neatly that time by Dejan Mingo, but he'll leave it back for Schwinnard. That's just dumped deep into the Komet zone, and Soul has to be Johnny on the spot because that was not going to be an icing. Now Montgomery. Shafsma with a good pass ahead for Kyle Thomas. Thomas coming in off the off wing, tries to spin away from his man, but Prochnow pinches him along the boards. Shafsma rubs Mingo off the play. And the puck comes back out to neutral. Shafsma will flip it back to Weber. Soul rips it off the boards, kind of a crazy carom off the side of the net. Racing in is Derek Dokken. Dokken takes a look ahead to Dejan Mingo. Mingo ahead, that's just feathered in that time by Sakura. And now Drew Daniels circles behind his own goal. Puck has popped into the air and still has not cleared the Komet zone. Now it does. Kay is trying to break out with numbers, but Jenks puts his big body in the way and backhands it back into the Komet corner. Leonard takes a peek over his shoulder, leaves for his defensive mate, Drew Daniels. Daniels goes ahead to Embach, but now circling is Berschbach, who scored the goal. Berschbach with speed, slides by Leonard. Berschbach tries to circle around the wraparound. They're saying, is it in or no? Initially, the referee, Howard, waved it off, and he is still waving it off. The light came on, and this near-capacity crowd went wild. And I believe that will not be a goal. Well, Berschbach, who has great speed, whistled around the net. Looked like it was pinched along the post, and Nagle is very adept at getting that pad over there to block the play. And then all of a sudden, after another jab, the goal light went on, but the referee, Andy Howard, was waving his arms from the get-go, saying no goal. Well, the Komets clearly did not want to fall behind 2-0 in the early going. 14:18 to go. in the first period, and the ruling is the puck never did completely cross the goal line. The draw is one back. One-timer from the point, right on. Nightingale with a blistering shot, and that smothered into the stomach of Pat Nagle. We'll talk about teams with completely diverse schedules. I talked about this as Game 2 of a 5-game road swing for the Komets to start the 2016 portion of their schedule. 10 of the Komets' 14 games this month will be on the road. On the other side of the coin, Toledo will play a dozen games during the month of January, 10 of them here at the Huntington Center. They started the season on a 9-game roadie. Now the K's look to break out. Penetrating the blue line, Kosierski can't catch up with it, and Toledo could have a 2-on-1. Racing in, cross-ice pass. Oh, a great shot that time by Schella, but a fabulous pad save by Nagle. Komets come back the other way. Garrett Thompson going in on Schmitz, who lost his stick, and Schmitz gives Thompson a rough ride. Meanwhile, Lurg makes the save. Now some pleasantries exchanged afterwards. Well, we've got time out here in the first period, 13:35 to go. Toledo leads the Komets 1-0. You're watching My Komets on My
TV Fort Wayne, presented by Parkview Sports Medicine.
Now back at the Huntington Center, Ken Horman here with My Komets on My TV. The K's trail 1-0 as Shane Berschbach netted his 7th goal of the season, 3:09 in on an assist from A.J. Jenks. Off the face-off, Weber pinched in from the blue line, now behind the net. Oh, that time a big hit taken by Derek Dokken as the K's try to dig the puck out. Dean Willett with an aggressive forecheck. Now it's Prochnow. Again, Weber pinches in. He spins around Max Gady, and the Toledo fans were looking for a hook. Now again, circling back in his own end is Will Weber. Weber takes a look as he crosses the blue line, tries to feed it ahead. Chipped in by Montgomery. Prochnow takes a big hit from Kyle Thomas, so the K's figure they're going to have to step up the physical play to try to take Toledo off the game a little bit. Last year, the Walleye had an exceptionally speedy lineup, and it's awfully quick again this year. That pass is intercepted by Jenks, but now looking to break out is Montgomery. Montgomery will ring it around the boards. The K's go for a line change. Alberga, who just jumped on the ice, now pursuing. Nightingale caroms off the boards that time to Sakura. Comes back to center, poked off the stick that time of Hamonic. Southhorn just dumps it into the corner. Lurg will flip it off his glove. Berschbach takes a hit that time by Embach, intercepted to the point. Oh, it lands on top of the net. Hamonic just flipped it in. It caromed off a Walleye over the shoulder of Lurg, hit the top of the net, but back the other way. It's Jenks from the circle. A shot and a save that time by Nagle. And then trying to jump on it afterwards that time was Sakura. Shots so far favor the Walleye 6-4. 12 minutes, 4 seconds to go in this opening period, and the Walleye on top 1-0. Both teams will change lines. Well, after tonight, the Komets have a key road trip next weekend as they will go to division-leading Quad Cities and play the Mallards next Friday and Sunday. They'll wrap up that 5-game roadie on January 13th in Cincinnati on a Wednesday night game. Now again, the Komets looking to break it out. Good pass from Kosierski. Spinning is Sidlowski, but Sidlowski couldn't quite control. Tyler Maxwell starts back the other way, just tries to serve it past Leonard. Leonard and Maxwell battle for it. It comes along the boards. Now Garrett Thompson will start the breakout. Snap it off the boards, and Lurg will watch that go past him for an icing. Now that time Garrett Thompson trying to play an angle pass off the boards. Just a little too sharp, and it wound up being an icing, so the face-off goes back into the Komet zone. To the left of K's goaltender, Pat Nagle, who has been on quite a tear. Nagle is 10-5-2 this season with a couple of shutouts and a stingy goals against average of 2.23. There's a shot that goes through a maze of players by Prochnow right on, and Nagle had to be alert. Great pad save, and again, Toledo has done a great job of pinching the K's into their own end. Now Thomas tries to get around his man. There could have been an interference call there, but on they play. Meanwhile, Garrett Thompson puts the body into Prochnow. Kosierski tries to dig it out, but Thompson still has it on his stick. He's bumped hard by Dokken. Soul pinches in. The bad angle shot deflected away. Lurg, it comes back to the point. Weber's shot goes off of Cody Saul. Now Saul races back to get in on the play. And a good quick stick by Weber breaks up a potential 3-on-2 by the Walleye. Weber circles back, goes back to Cody Saul. Saul comes across to Montgomery. Off the heel of his stick, he just lets it go into the Toledo zone. Circling back is Arnazon. Across to Jared Nightingale, the Toledo captain. Up ahead, Berschbach, who has the goal. Comes back down the slot for Jenks, but intercepted that time. And here comes the Komets captain, Jamie Shafsma. Shafsma tries to saucer pass it across to Montgomery. That's broken up. Shafsma reclaims and circles back at center. Now drops it back. Hamonic cross ice to Southhorn. Up ahead it goes. Here's Meurs over to Shafsma. Shafsma right on into the glove of Lurg. Pretty easy save for Lurg that time, and we talk about how great Pat Nagle is. Lurg, who has been up and down between Toledo and the American Hockey League, the Grand Rapids Griffiths of the AHL, the other Red Wings affiliate. Lurg, 12-3 and 2 shootout losses with a 2.01 goals against average. Off the draw, Schwinnard circles behind his own net. Soft pass off the boards that time to Shala. And again, center ice. Komets have it, but it comes back into the zone. Hamonic crisply goes to Meurs. Meurs' pass momentarily deflected. Southhorn has some ice. Just dumps it into the corner, so a lot of dump and chase right now. Embach steps into Schwinnard. Coming out the other way, though, is Schmitz ahead to Schwinnard. Schwinnard now dancing through the middle, and it squirts into the Komet zone. That time it's snapped away by Pat Nagle to neutral ice. The race is on. Meurs with speed pokes it ahead, slides past Leone. Now Meurs trying to lean back, still has control of the puck. Meurs tries to get it back to Leonard, but now intercepted. Here comes Shala back the other way. And again, the Komets can't clear. Into the corner it goes, and that time Dokken to Leone. Now the K's looking to break out with numbers. Alberga, who's been playing a center spot, he got the game winner last night in Indianapolis. K's dump it in and go for a change. 9 minutes to go here in the opening period. It's 1-0 in favor of Toledo. Leone now ahead to Mingo. He stood up that time by Leonard. And now Nagle tries to create the transition. Here comes Sidlowski. Sidlowski tries to center to Thompson. Sidlowski spins, still has the puck. Comes back to the point, but it's too sharp that time, and Daniels was zigging when he should have been zagging. And now all of a sudden, here comes Mingo. Tries to leave for Gady, who goes to the backhand, but he's bumped off the play that time by Drew Daniels. Daniels now working against Gady. And the K's again having a problem with the breakout. Nightingale puts the shot right on, sticked aside by Nagle. Daniels off the boards to Sidlowski. Sidlowski, cross ice, it goes to Weber. Weber takes the big hit that time by Gady. Now Jenks circles in front of his own net, leaves for Nightingale. Nightingale comes to center to Jenks, broken up briefly by the Komets. Weber bumped off the play. Jenks' pass is too sharp for Berschbach, and that's just chipped high into this big crowd here. And we have a stoppage of play, and we also have a timeout. 7:56 to go. First period from the Huntington Center. Toledo 1.
New Sports Medicine.
But don't forget, Sound Off with the Komets every Monday night, 7:30 on 21 Alive. Tommy Schegler will usually have a segment with head coach Gary Graham and a Komet player. From the Sport One Parkview Ice House, the Thirsty Penguins, Sound Off with the Komets. It'll be 7:30, Monday, January 4th on 21 Alive. Be out there and be part of the live audience, or you can catch it on 21 Alive. Now back to the action, and here comes Schmitz dumping it into the Komet corner, bumped off the play by Weber. Sol wins the race from Berschbach, but again, the K's having trouble clearing. Montgomery tries to push his man off the play. Thomas chasing Schmitz, and Schmitz will turn. Good pass ahead to Jenks. Jenks goes cross ice, but kind of into no man's land. Schwinnard off the heel of his stick, but enough starch to get it into the Komet zone. Montgomery goes cross ice, collected neatly that time by Thomas. Thomas looks to center, comes across to Shaftsma. That's a little too sharp. And here comes Toledo again on the transition. Tyler Maxwell trying to move it ahead, has his pocket picked by Meurs. A sharp pass that time. Alberga just pops it up in the air, and Meurs races in and puts a shot right on. Good save that time by Lurg. Kept in by Hamonic, but now it's intercepted, and Zombo moves it ahead. There's another screenshot that time by Zombo. Unfortunately, Nagle dropping down and seeing it, able to smother it. So Pat Nagle has had to be some kind of alert so far here in this first period. Shots now favor the Walleye 9-7. And Toledo bringing another line out. It'll be Leone, Bushy, and Gady. Up against Willett. And the puck comes back to the point. Shot right on by Nightingale. And again, smothered by Nagle. Well, one of the things during this recent stretch of success by the Komets, especially on their power play, head coach Gary Graham was talking about this, is the Komets have been winning a bushel of face-offs, primarily Shaftsma and also Kosierski. Well, that puck flipped ahead, and it winds up off the penalty box. Toledo was modestly looking for a delay of game call. And are they going to get it? Conferring with the linesman, I think one of the linesmen was waving that it was deflected, but I don't know. It looks like the Komets are going to get a delay of game penalty. Now, the Komets don't believe it. But I believe it is going to be 2 minutes for delay of game. Gary Graham wants an explanation from Andy Howard. It would come at 13:25 here of the first. And I don't think Gary Graham is going to win this debate with Andy Howard. Right now the Komets only have 4 players on the ice. And they can't believe it. Looks like it'll be Dean Willett who will serve the minor. So Willett serving delay a game when the puck caromed up off the high part of the glass and wound up in the penalty box, strangely enough, where Willett is sitting. So the first power play of the game, and it goes to Toledo. Thomas tries to bump his man Januzan off the play. So Toledo again pinching the Komets in. Berschbach has it. Now loses it, but regathers. Comes along the half wall. Berschbach looking to center. Dances around back to Chouinard, and it hops over his stick. So a break for the Komets as that goes the length of the rink. Chouinard has to circle, and now Toledo has to reset the power play. Komets' penalty kill lately has been very, very efficient, almost 85%. Meanwhile, Toledo is just under 22% at 21.7% in the power play. And another errant pass leads the Walleye to regroup. Alberga steps into Berschbach. Now it's Chouinard, the defenseman, breaking in, comes across to Jenks on the off wing. Jenks banks it off the boards, but very sharply. Sakura collects near the blue line, now dumps it along. Circling along, and it's Berschbach again. Served back to Chouinard, now to the high circle. Shot is caromed off a player. It was off of Sakura, and he almost got a penalty for yanking Alberga down. He, from his knees, is able to clear it the length of the rink. Both teams now changing. 36 seconds left on the Walleye power play. Toledo leads 1-0 as we approach the 5-minute mark of period number 1. For a lot of this first period, the Toledo defense has been carrying the puck. Oh, and there's a big hit from behind, and the Komets are going to be assessed another penalty. And let's see what they call. Looks like it's going to be a boarding call. So Toledo will have a two-man advantage. It'll go to Embach. Wow. Well, that's one of the rules they've put in hockey to try to make it safer, is when there's a little space between a player and the boards and you can see both numerals. They don't like to have a player sent head first into the boards. Comes at 15:07. Embach for boarding, so for 19 seconds the Walleye will have a two-man advantage and Toledo leading 1-0. A very important face-off here for Shaftsma. Well, it's drawn back neatly by Zombo, but nobody was home as it split the defenseman. So it goes all the way back to the Toledo zone. But Schmitz is racing the play ahead because they want to try to make something out of the two-man advantage. Into the corner, Tyler Maxwell. Now it comes back. Schmitz has it at the point. Comes cross ice, that time Prochnow. Prochnow looks to tee it up. Willett comes out. There's a shot that's just barely sticked aside by Nagle as a stick was broken on the shot. Prochnow has it in his feet. Zombo racing in. Time a high wrist shot by Zarnozan goes over the net. Another shot right on, and it's gloved that time. Zombo trying to look for a low corner, and Nagle able to make the glove save. So the Komets now just one man down for another minute and 23 seconds. Face-offs so important, it'll be Kashirski against Jenks. 4:15 to go here in this first period. Berschbach controls back to Chouinard, back to Berschbach, who has the lone goal of the game so far. Berschbach dances in, Jenks, side of the net, works behind, given a shove by Leonard. Now it's rung around to Berschbach. Berschbach back to the point, Chouinard with a wrist shot, and again the great glove save by Nagle. Leonard trying to shove Jenks out of the way, so at least Nagle would have clear vision to the puck. Shots now favor the Walleye, 12-7. Soul and Weber now come out on defense for the Komets. Kashirski against Jenks. Kashirski neatly wins the draw, but the Komets can't clear. Chouinard, little backhand pass, goes to Berschbach. Berschbach tries to hit it in front, and a great deflection by Jenks, but another fabulous save by Nagle, who has been really alert here in the first period, and the K's able to clear to neutralize. It went off the stick of Chouinard. 44 seconds to go in the Toledo power play. Now it's left back by Zarnozan, who wasn't quite looking for that. Takes some more time off the clock, much to the Komets' delight. And again, that pass is left behind. Dancing in is Berschbach, comes across to Jenks. Jenks along the half wall. Spins. Now fed back to Chouinard, who comes across to Zarnozan. Zarnozan looking to find Berschbach. The drive, another big save by Nagle. Now good passing on the power play that time by Toledo, and Berschbach set up shop right at the top of the slot. Big low drive, but Nagle has been seeing the puck excellently here in the first period. And he's done a great job of keeping this a one-goal game. Shaftsma against Jenks. Komets try to control but can't. Now Chouinard, Berschbach gets it across the shot, and again another great save by Nagle. That time Zarnozan was bidding for a low corner, and Zarnozan with a look of disgust as he skates to the bench. Well, Pat Nagle so far has been the difference here in the first period. Komets came out with an awful lot of hop and put some early pressure on Jeff Lerg, but for most of the latter part of the period, especially with Toledo, picking up a couple of power plays, one briefly with a two-man advantage. A lot of play here in the Komet zone. One-timer that time by Dokken, and that goes right into the chest of Nagle. And now Bushy and Southhorn standing visor to visor after that save. Well, just 2 seconds left in the Embach penalty. He already is on his feet waiting for the gate to open. Well, the K's would love to win the draw and fire a breakout pass ahead to Embach as he is coming out of the penalty box. First things first. Kashirski neatly wins the draw, and Embach does come out, so the teams are at full strength. That deflects off the stick of Embach and into neutral ice. Dokken takes a big hit from Sidlowski. Now Hamonic rings it around the boards behind his own net. Embach chips it, but right back into the Komet zone. Now Sidlowski over to Southhorn. That's into the feet that time of Bushy. Gathered by Sidlowski and rung around the boards. It comes all the way around and to neutral ice. Dumped into the Komet zone, and that probably caromed off a player. So we have a timeout here with 2:14 to go in the opening period. Toledo is outshot, the Komets 16-7, and they lead 1-0. You're watching My Komets on my TV. Well, back to the action here at the Huntington Center, and again the puck pops out of play, so it'll be a face-off just outside the Komet zone. Tyler Maxwell against Dominique Alberga of the Komets. Kay's looking to put more pressure in the Toledo end, and most notably on their goalie, Jeff Lurg. Drew Daniels dances in, and the shot whistles not only over the shoulder of Lurg, but up into the netting beyond the glass. Just under 2 minutes to go here in the opening period. And again, the Huntington Center has not been a friendly place for the Komets lately. They have lost their last 6 trips to this building. And talking to the Toledo people when we arrived early and were setting up and getting ready for the game, they've been very excited about their recent attendance. They've got a shot at yet another sellout tonight. A sellout in this building is about 8,000 people. And our last trip in here when we broadcast, back on November 21st, they had a crowd of 8,000. Tonight's promotion is Superhero and Villains Night. So there are a lot of comic book type characters roaming the crowd. .146 to go, face off in the Toledo zone. Kashersky and Jenks. Back to the point it comes. Southhorn shoots that one wide. Thompson chasing his man, that time Dokken. Kay's looking for a centering pass, can't get it. Now the Walleye look to break it out. Berschbach against Southhorn. Komets' turn, now Southhorn tries to slide around his man, but good pressure applied by Sakura. Now Garrett Thompson comes across. Kashersky moves it ahead. But again, Sidlowski can't dump it in the corner, and now a little waltz that time with Dokken and Sidlowski. Thompson slides around Jenks. Good cross-ice pass. Sidlowski again having a tough time dumping it deep as that was clogged up by Zarnazan. Nightingale and Sidlowski chase it down. Nightingale comes away with it. Little bit of a delay. Now ahead to A.J. Jenks, who just wraps it around the boards. He heads for a line change. Squirts out to the slot. Shafsma now ahead to Kyle Thomas with speed. Thomas on the off wing. Shoots it into the leg that time of Nightingale, and down he goes. He's wincing in pain. On they play, and it's cleared ahead. And here comes Dominic Zombo. Circles down the slot. That goes into the skate that time of the Komet defender, and again, that will flop up into the crowd. Well, a conversation with the referee, Andy Howard. Is he going to call another penalty? It looks like it'll be another delay penalty against the Komets. Now, this has to be frustrating head coach Gary Graham. The penalty comes at the 1934 mark. So the K's have had all 3 penalties here in the first period, 2 of them for delay of game. Looks like Shafsma will sit this one out. Well, you'd almost look at this and say the Komets would be lucky to come out of this opening period only down 1-0. Kashersky wins yet another draw. So the Komets, their second delay of game period, down to the final 15 seconds. Jenks will spin in his own zone, leave it for Berschbach. Maybe one last rush for the Walleye, but they're going to have to hustle. Schwinnard Tries to dump it in. Looked like an offside, but nonetheless the K's will clear, and the clock will run out here in the opening period. And Toledo, quite honestly, dominating most of the play thanks to some late penalties by the Komets, and they will head to the locker room after the opening 20 minutes with a 1-0 lead. We'll take a break and come back with a brief first period recap. You're watching My Komets on MyTV.
Komets Hockey on MyTV Fort Wayne, presented by Parkview Sports Medicine.
Set for second period action here in the Huntington Center, and the puck is dropped. It is drawn back to Scott Zarnazan, to Joel Chouinard, who sets up shop behind his own goal, and he looks for the breakout. Toledo was still 1 minute and 22 seconds of power play time. That was poked away briefly by by Kyle Thomas, who lost his stick. Now Jenks will ring it around the boards. Racing in is Kashersky. He tries to chip it out, but it's off the body of Sakura. Now it comes across Berschbach to Chouinard, comes over to Zarnazan. Back to Chouinard, the one-timer, and that deflects off a player in front. 1 minute to go in the Toledo man advantage, 1-0 in favor of the Walleye. Zarnazan to A.J. Jenks, back out to the point, and it's intercepted by the Komets, and a great play by Kashersky, and he will saucer it into the corner while the Komets go for a line change. Now 44 seconds to go in the Toledo man advantage to begin this second period. Jamie Shafsma in the penalty box for a delay of game. Berschbach with speed on the wing, comes in, cuts in, tries to wrap it around in front. There's a shot, and saved that time by Pat Nagle. Jenks didn't get a lot of lumber on it, but it just knuckled right into the crease, and Nagle again there to smother the puck. He has been sensational so far. The shot advantage for the Walleye, 17-7. Nagle with 16 saves, and on the lone goal by Berschbach, 3 minutes and 9 seconds into the game, he really didn't have a chance. It caromed off the post. Sent the length of the rink. Now Lurg will leave for Prochnow, and he's bumped off the play that time by Embach, and that'll take a little time off the clock. Now up ahead, here it comes. Bo Schmitz crosses the line, leaves for Schala. Schala stepped into that time by Embach, who always finishes his check. Cross-ice pass to Schmitz, top of the circle. One-timer, and that's whistled wide by Prochnow. Shafsma comes out of the box, so the Komets stave off yet another Walleye power play. Hamonic looks to break it out for the Komets. Up ahead it goes. Embach, cross-ice to Shafsma. Shafsma, Embach with a quick shot, and it's deflected by Prochnow. Goes over the shoulder of Lurg. There's a shot from the point, sticked aside, but then it goes off a Walleye player and behind Lurg and through the goal mouth. That's off the glove that time of Drew Daniels. Collected by Leonard. Now Daniels spins in his own zone. Comes across to Curtis Leonard, who leaves for Daniels. He has to regroup. Cross-ice pass goes to Brock Montgomery, who just came off the injured list to play in last night's game in Indianapolis. That pass is too sharp, and that will be an icing call on the Komets. So Joe Perry went on reserve as he got hit in the foot with a big shot on the New Year's Eve game at the Coliseum. So Perry was a scratch tonight, Randy Cura scratch, and Brett Perlini is also out. He's been out for a while now with an upper body injury. Daniels circles behind his own net. Serves it ahead for Montgomery, who chips it off the boards. Daniels was trying to lead a rush, and now he still will. He races in, tries to pinch the puck away from Lurg, who was out of his net. Oh, a shot came right in front, and Willett couldn't finish it. Leonard with a drive, and a good glove save that time by Lurg. So now that the Komets have an opportunity to play some 5-on-5 hockey, they're trying to carry the play to the Walleye. Well, when you can't wait to see your doctor, go to the walk-in clinic that's part of the PPG Community of Care, Parkview First Care. Get in, get better, get going. Call 877-PPG today to find the First Care location nearest you. Parkview Sports Medicine, again a proud sponsor of Komet Hockey. Score! A shot from the point that went through a maze of players and deflected past Lurg, and the Komets have tied the game. Well, we'll see who gets credit for it. I think it was Will Weber who fired it from the point. And we saw the puck change directions, and the Komets have tied the game 2 minutes and 47 seconds into period 2. Time of the goal will be 2:47, and the K's have tied the game. So brand new hockey game, Alberga and Jenks at center. Drawn back to Chouinard. Meurs gets the goal, so he deflected it. And there's an icing call now on the Walleye. Weber and Southhorn get the assists. So Garrett Meurs, who's been playing great hockey since his return from San Antonio, has his 8th goal of the season. Weber and Southhorn the assists at 2:47, and we are tied at 1. Just what the Komets were looking for here early in period 2. Choke off that Toledo power play and then put some pressure on and net one of their own. Again, a quick shot, gloved by Lerg. So the Komets, who were outshot 16-7 in period number 1, have quickly outshot the Walleye 4-1 here in period number 2. Kashersky in on the draw against Jenks. Kashersky again wins another faceoff. A broken Shillelagh lay on the ice, and Jenks is without a stick. See if the Komets can cash on that. A shot again right on and smothered by Lerg. So you can tell the Komets' strategy has been throw some pucks on net. Good things can happen, and that certainly was the case when Weber just flipped that shot from the blue line. Meurs got a stick on it and chipped it past Jeff Lerg to tie the game. Great early pressure by the Komets here in period number 2. What an addition Nikita Kashersky has been. And he wins yet another faceoff. That time Southhorn trying to step into it. Goes into a maze of bodies. And it's the K's dominating the pressure here early in period 2. Now Kashersky has to come back to the neutral zone. Southhorn across to Hamonic. Hamonic will just flip it into the corner, and the race is on between Schmitz and Kashersky. Chouinard will collect and feed it off the boards to Shalla. He's bumped off the play. Zombo takes the big shoulder from Southhorn. Maxwell steps into Jordan Southhorn. Talked about how the Komets controlled the physicality in the first period. Now Sidlowski giving chase that time on Dokken. Dokken will spin, leave it behind his own net for Bo Schmitz. Schmitz taking his time as he glides ahead. Then to Shalla on the left wing. Shalla puts a shot right on, steered aside by Nagle. Komets look for the breakout. Willette, that goes off a Walleye skate, and it's intercepted. Shalla uses a lob wedge to dump it into the corner. Leonard backhands it behind the net where it's gathered by Drew Daniels. Daniels crisply onto the stick of Willette, who wraps it off the boards, but they can't get it deep. So here's Leone. Leone comes in. That shot is deflected by Daniels, and that winds up well into this capacity crowd here at the Huntington Center. 15:19 to go in period 2, and we are tied at 1. If you just might be tuning in, Shane Berschbach scored his 7th goal of the season for Toledo, 3 minutes and 9 seconds into the game. And then at the 2:47 mark of period 2, Garrett Meurs netted his 8th of the season to tie it up. Leone against Schatzman. Leone wins the draw to Zarnazan. Zarnazan circles behind the net, looks to center. There's a one-timer by Nightingale. That goes into, again, a nest of players. Alberga rubs his man off the play as he steps into Kyle Bushy. Komets look to clear, but can't. Leone given a shove by Saul. Centers, too sharp off the stick, but back to the point. Just goes by the net. Meurs comes cross ice to Embach, who has to circle back into his own zone. Takes a serious chop that time. No call. Obvious penalty that time on a slash by Leone that chopped the stick out of the hands of Embach, and no call. Comes back to the point, on they play. Wrist shot, just caroms wide. Embach with no stick tries to shove his man off the play. This can spell trouble. Look for the centering pass in front. Sol bats it away with the glove, and the race is on. Kept in by Zarnazan, but Meurs steps into him behind the net. Weber bumps his man. Back to the point, Nightingale a low shot. What a great pad save by Nagle. Right in front, and that's chipped too high by Leone. This is almost like a Toledo power play. Zarnazan near the top of the circle, poked away by Meurs. The Komets are going to get a penalty. It's going to be interference on Sol for basically just chucking Mingo into the net. But where was Andy Howard when Embach had his stick slashed right out of his hands? Wow. So it'll be a power play. Sol, 2 minutes for interference at the 5:55 mark of period 2. And the thing that's unfortunate about that from the Komets' perspective is all of that Toledo pressure was facilitated when Embach had the stick chopped right out of his hand, so Embach was skating around for the longest time without a stick. So the Komets have to try to choke off yet another Walleye power play. That has flipped the length of the rink into the air by Southhorn. Lurg had to watch it whistle over his head like a flying saucer. Now Chouinard is chased out from behind his net by Shaftsma. Joel Chouinard to Zarnazan into the Komet corner. Southhorn chased by Berschbach, and Southhorn is able to clear the zone. That time Toledo was caught pinching in, and a quick play by Southhorn, who was looking for a change, but now retreats back to the blue line because he was afraid of a quick Toledo breakout. Jenks gathers the puck neatly, and the Komets able to clear again. Now fresh troops on the ice for the Komets, and Kyle Thomas with speed races in, knifes behind Lurg behind the net, intercepted in front. There's a shot right on by Kashirski. Great pressure by the Komets created the Toledo turnover. Lurg with the save, but that creates a face-off situation. Still 1 minute and 8 seconds left in the Toledo power play. Well, whatever the conversation was in the Komet locker room during the intermission between periods 1 and 2, so far the Komets have taken to heart through the first 6 minutes and change of period number 2. Scott Zarnazan starts up center. Good pressure that time by Kashirski. Now Toledo penetrates the zone. Kashirski steps into his man, Dominic Zombo, and the K's able again to clear. So far, the penalty kill has been fabulous by the Komets. Now Kyle Thomas applying a good forecheck. He spins around to try to get back defensively. That's just dumped into the Komet zone by Prochnow. Nagle leaves for Hamonic. Hamonic rings it around the boards. Embach has it. Embach will lead the breakout. Now here come the Komets. Will Weber with speed. Weber fires a shot. Pad save that time by Lurg. Dumped ahead by Hamonic, but knocked down that time. And here come Josh Shala. Shala will look to center, but intercepted that time by Garrett Thompson. And Thompson tries to dump it to center. Prochnow bats it down with a glove. A quick line change. Toledo has it. Too strong for Shala. Hamonic tries to step into Shala. Prochnow comes across, teeing it up that time, but disdaining the shot is Dawkin. Centering pass attempted, and the Komets able to clear ahead. Sol comes out, steps into Dawkin. Now racing ahead is Thompson. Leaves for Embach. Embach comes across just a little too strong that time for Alberga. End-to-end action as the teams racehorse hockey. Mingo tries to get by his man, but can't. That time, Alberga knew he was going to take a big hit from Leone, but doesn't cough the puck up. Now a little pitch and catch behind the Komet goal. Daniels loses control briefly. Leone dumps it around along the boards near the half wall, kept in that time by Kyle Bushy. K's look to clear. Thompson has it. Thompson to Daniels. Daniels breaking out with speed. Fine rushing defenseman. Drew Daniels puts a shot. Slides past the net into the corner. Embach backhands it to Alberga. Comes back to the point. Daniels. Sol with a one-timer. Doesn't get much lumber on it at all. It was kind of a bouncing biscuit. Thompson in the corner. The Komets have a great forecheck going on here in period 2. Embach in the slot. Can't get past his defender Nightingale. Sol with another one-timer. It whistles wide. Meurs will circle. Meurs, Embach looked to tee it up. Now he just tries to slide it past. Komets with all sorts of pressure here in period number 2. One-timer again, right on as Saul bidding for his first goal of the season. Lurg with a pad save. Flipped over Saul. Now Cody gathers near his own blue line. Off the boards, takes the hit that time from Bushy. Nightingale spins, but the Komets intercept briefly. Puck in no man's land. Kyle Bushy. That time, Jenks takes the hit from Brock Montgomery. Sedlowski turns, dumps it into the Toledo zone. Just about the midway point of period 2, we are tied at 1 in Toledo. And again, the Komets' great pressure as Sedlowski keep it in. Now it's Sid circling behind the net. Sid to Montgomery. It goes across the goal mouth, and that's steered aside that time by Lurg. Sakura. All sorts of lumber being applied to Southhorn. Kays look to break it out. Montgomery stepped into by Chouinard. Jenks gets it across the slot. Berschbach, Sakura to Jenks. The shot steered aside niftily with the stick that time by Pat Nagle. But again, Toledo pressure. Big shot that time by Schmitz. Goes wide. Chouinard, though, takes the rebound. Just serves it on, and a big glove save by Nagle. And Nagle is taking a look at the referee, saying there are too many people in my crease with the wrong color of jersey. We have a timeout at the Huntington Center. 9:32 to go in period number 2. The Komets and Walleye tied at 1. You're watching My Komets.
Parkview Sports Medicine and airing exclusively on MyTV Fort Wayne.
The Parkview Sports Medicine provides performance and fitness training, advanced rehabilitation services, and nutrition consultations to sports enthusiasts at all levels. You can learn more by calling Parkview Sports Medicine 260-266-4007. And once again, when you can't wait to see your doctor, go to the walk-in clinic that is part of the PPG Community Care Parkview First Care. Get in, get better, get going. Call 877-PPG today to find the First Care location nearest you. Ken Horman here in the Huntington Center, downtown Toledo, Ohio. The Komets and the Walleye tied at 1 here, 9.5 minutes to go in period number 2. The puck back to the point, but just dumped into the corner. So the K's look to break it out. Sean Sedlowski dumps it behind his own goal. Jordan Southhorn has it. A lot of pressure being applied that time by the Walleye, but the K's now dump it into the Toledo zone. Garrett Thompson wins the race, beating Schmitz right in front, and Lurg will grab the puck. Well, I talked about in the latter part of the first period where it seemed like the ice was heavily tilted in Toledo's way. Just the opposite here in period number 2, as the Komets have spent the bulk of this period in the Walleye zone. Kashersky wins yet another face-off. They dump it back to Sedlowski. Sedlowski snaps the wrist shot. That goes off of Chouinard. Sedlowski has it again. Another shot is deflected. Now Kashersky shot that one, and that one off of Maxwell. There's another shot. That time it's blocked by Dominic Zombo. So the Komets trying to pepper the net, but a school of Walleye have been in the way, and that time Zombo has to quickly go to the bench. Comes across Sedlowski, takes a look. One-timer by Hamonic, and that looked like it hit Lurg with right in front. Kashersky poised for a rebound. Kays tried his center, but nobody home. Toledo looks to break it out. Dumped in by Gady. He's bumped that time by Southhorn, but Gady keeps the feet moving. Gady was looking to center, but no Walleye in the slot, so Gady tries to wrap it around. Last moment deflected away. Southhorn comes ahead, flips the puck into the air, and Zarnazan finds it drop right in front of him. Leone takes a shove that time by Hamonic. Now Meurs looks to go to center, but a little too strong for Alberga in the transition. Here come the Walleye. That time Mingo slipped the check attempt by Garrett Meurs. Big hit that time by Hamonic on Gady. So the physicality is picking up once again here in period 2. Under 8 minutes to go in the second period. Mike Embach bumped by Gady. Now Embach has the puck again, tries to dance through the Toledo defense. Will backhand it around the net. Alberga wins the race. Cannot quite feed it back to the point. Shoved from behind by Nightingale. Comes across. Daniels has the shot, fakes, dances in, and then he has to go off his stick. Maybe one too many stick handles that time. Alberga will sling it around behind the net. Poked away by Toledo. Zarnazan Tries to step around Embach, kept in though by the K's. Puck went up into the netting, so we will have a face-off in the Toledo zone. As once again the teams change lines. I talked about this at the top of the broadcast, where this is game 2 of a 5-game road trip for the Komets to start the 2016 portion of their schedule. A couple of big ones against division-leading Quad Cities next Friday and Sunday. Then the Komets will wrap up the 5-game roadie on Wednesday, January 13th in Cincinnati. Toledo, which spent the bulk of the first part of the schedule on the road, plays a dozen home games in the month of January. Now the Komets in their own end, banged off the boards where Saul collects. Tries to feed it ahead. Montgomery, hounded by Dokken. Jenks has it at center ice, and he'll just flip it toward the net, and that's a little bit wide. Nagle will leave where Saul has it for the Komets. Sakura putting some pressure on. Dokken pinches in and steps into Montgomery, so that Toledo defense has done a good job of really pinching in and pressuring the Komet forwards. Now there's a scrum in the corner. Very rarely is there a whistle, but nobody is moving their feet, and it's dug out by the Komets. Shafsma moves it ahead to Montgomery. Kays could have numbers, and here comes Thomas breaking in a shot off Alberga. He didn't know where it was, and then he finally smothers it. Great speed by Kyle Thomas. He was able in stride to pick a bouncing puck out of the air and just guide it toward Lurg. It was in his body. He didn't really know where it was. At the last moment saw it and then fell on it. So Thomas, a bit of a breakaway as he out-hustled Andrew Prochnow. Both goaltenders have been very, very sharp. Komets have outshot the Walleye in this period 9-6. Kashirski in for the faceoff. That time it was almost equal between Maxwell and Kashirski. It came off the sideboards, though. Now it's dumped into the Komet zone. No icing, so Nagle plays for the Komets. Southhorn into the boards. Good play by Thompson. Sidlowski now at center. He'll just dump it into the zone and again try to outrace Bo Schmidt. Sidlowski puts the shoulder into him. Helping out on the play is Josh Shalla. Komet forwards have just been all sorts of aggressive, trying to keep the puck pinched in. Garrett Thompson, he's bumped off the play by Schwinnard. Now Schmitz will circle in his own zone. And again, a great forecheck by Sean Sidlowski. Kashirski has it, spins away. Kashirski will lead the break across to Sidlowski on the off wing. Sidlowski tries to center. Kashirski bumps his defender Schmitz off the play. Now it's Shalla back the other way. Stepped into with a great hip check by Hamonic. That slides through the Komet goal mouth as that time Dominic Zombo just tried to feed something on net. Nightingale, a little too strong that time, but poked in by Maxwell. Now Embach has it, tries to work past his defender. Zarnazan pushes Embach off the play, so he has to regather in the neutral zone. Comes across. Alberga rings it around behind the net. Meurs leaves for Embach. Embach puts the shot that deflects up into the net. And we have a timeout here with 5 minutes and 4 seconds to go in the second period. We are tied at 1, the Walleye and the Komets.
TV Ford Way, presented by Parkview Sports Medicine.
Well, Toledo has become quite the hockey town. They just announced the attendance here at the Huntington Center as 7,802. That is deemed a sellout. It's their 6th sellout of the season. Obviously their first of 2016 and the 66th total sellout here in the history of the Huntington Center. And there is nary a seat to be had in the building tonight, and the fans have been treated to a good one. 1-0. The longtime rivals, the Komets and Toledo. Daniels pursued by Gady in a race between number 8s. Now in the feet that time of Leonard. He takes the heavy hit that time. That was applied by Kyle Bushy. Kays look to break out 2-on-2. Alberga trying to race to get into the play. Embach with speed leaves it back for Daniels. Daniels takes a look. There's a stick on the ice right now. Comes across, right in front, and Alberga scores. Tremendous play by the Komets. Oh, what passing by the Komets, and Alberga has his second game in as many nights. The Kays take a 2-1 lead. Well, tic-tac-toe passing by the Komets. Alberga with the goal. The time is at 15:32, and the Komets with their first lead of the game. Dominic Alberga, his 5th goal of the season. Well, that looked like something that assistant coach Konstantin Shafronov would draw up. Spectacular play. Meurs and Embach on the assist, as Meurs with a beautiful centering pass to Alberga. Now the Komets looking for more. Right on, and it bounced off the glove that time of Lurg. Cleared to neutral. Saul feeds it ahead. Weber just dumps it in. Alberga, his 5th goal as a Komet. Meurs and Embach the assist. And the K's with a 2-1 lead. Now Shane Berschbach carries it into the Komet zone. It's off the boards. Jenks spins around. Looking to center that time is Toledo. Berschbach dances around a few Komets, comes back to the point. Schmitz cross ice to Schwinnard. Sidlowski rubs him off the play. Back behind the net, looked like it caromed off the official, Howard. And again, Schmitz, who pinched in, fires it off the back of the post. Bo Schmitz. Now to Zombo. Jenks tries to dance around his defender, Southorn. Jenks was bidding for an interference penalty, but Andy Howard says play on. Shaftsma cycles through the zone, leaves it back. Garrett Thompson ahead to Daniels. Daniels, a shot. Oh, it just whistled wide. Maybe got a little bit of the post as it beat him to the stick side. Komets are really carrying the play to Toledo here in period number 2. 3 minutes to go in the period. That's flipped high off the glass. Puck bouncing through the slot. Comes across to Daniels. Daniels tries to center it across that time to Kashirski breaking in, but intercepted by the Walleye. What pressure by the Komets as they just keep pouring it on. Sidlowski to Daniels. Daniels deep in the corner. Kashirski tries to feed it out. That caroms off a Walleye, and the race is on. Daniels will win it as he comes across to Curtis Leonard. Leonard at center. Kashirski, a backhand pass neatly on the stick of Thompson. His drive again into the body of Lurgan. It was behind him, but the whistle blew. Now Andy Howard lost sight of the puck as the puck squirted through the body of Jeff Lurg and just sat in the crease. 2:23 to go here in period number 2. The Komets have netted a pair of goals to take a 2-1 lead. Alberga on the draw. Now Meurs jousting with Zarnazan behind the net. Garrett Meurs is just hustle on skates, trying to dig it out. Nightingale stepped into with authority by Alberga. Quick shot that time by Embach, and it's steered aside. Of course, Mike Embach, the reigning ECHL Player of the Week. He has been on fire lately. Weber giving his man a rough ride as he takes Mingo heavily into the boards. Puck pops out. Alberga, Embach ahead to Saul, who's breaking in from the defense. Saul, can he get it deep? Well, Mingo just rings it around the boards to Jared Nightingale. Comes out to Dejan Mingo. Mingo at the neutral zone will dump it in. Now Toledo going for a line change. Nagle can't quite control, but good news for the Komets. Toledo had not completed the change, so there wasn't much pressure. Racing in now, it's Kyle Thomas. Thomas shoved off the play that time by Dokken, and there will be a Toledo penalty. This will be the first penalty of the game on the Walleye, and I'm not sure, really, that Dokken did much of anything. Thomas was racing in with speed and maybe lost an edge, but it'll be the first Toledo penalty, and I think they're going to call boarding. So Derek Lalonde, the Toledo coach, can't believe it. Komets will take it. First penalty of the night called on the Walleye, and we're deep into the second period, and it comes at 18:38. It is a boarding call against Derek Dokken. The Komets go on the power play where they have been all sorts of proficient at 25%. Toledo, though, immediately clears. Well, how big would a Komet power play goal come right now? And the K's have been scoring power play goals at will lately, 9 straight games. Kashirski through the slot. Montgomery didn't quite see it till the last minute. Now he runs it down in the corner. Thompson with good pursuit. Out muscles Jenks. Sent along the boards where Kashirski takes a big hit that time by Chouinard. Komets making it difficult for the Walleye to clear. Now Garrett Thompson has it. Brock Montgomery. Montgomery back to the point. Southhorn takes a look. Wrist shot. They look to try to just carom it through people. Toledo tries to chip it out, and Jenks is able to do it as he lunges. But there is a whistle on the play. So the faceoff comes back into the Toledo zone with 30 seconds left in period 2. Komets have taken a 2-1 lead over the Walleye. Outshooting them 11-6 so far in the period. And the draw squirts right on toward goal. Lurg just sticks it aside. And the hustling Zarnazan clears it. Max Gady looked like he lost an edge on his skate as he was trying to race in on the forecheck. Probably the final rush of the period. Daniels to Meurs. Meurs can't split the defense. Nightingale will rip it off the boards. Nagle quickly races out to try to give the Komets one last shot. Inside the final 10 seconds, Alberga rings it around the boards. Thomas races in, dumps it behind, down to the final 2 and 1, and that will do it for period 2. But a period that was indeed controlled by the Komets as they outshoot the Walleye in the period 12-6, and they score 2 goals to take a 2-1 lead. So the K's lead 2-1 after 2 periods of play here in Toledo. We'll take a break and we'll recap the game so far. I won their 4 home games. But this is a brand new season, and as we start the final what could be 20 minutes, K's lead 2-1, and the puck is dropped. Leone manages to bring it back to Bo Schmitz, and we are underway here in period number 3. Schmitz fires it the length of the rink, caroms off the body of Pat Nagle, and the Komets regroup. And leading the rush is Jordan Southhorn. Now 22 seconds left in the Komet power play. Wrapped in behind the net, racing in that time is Kashirski, controlled by Montgomery, tries to get it behind the net, intercepted briefly by Chouinard. There's a scrum, the puck comes out. Southhorn a little toe drag, but that hits a Walleye player. Southhorn again slides it through the goal mouth, a little too sharply. Gady has the puck neatly checked away by Garrett Thompson. Thompson flips it off the glass behind the net. But out of the penalty box comes Dockin, and the team's at full strength. Southhorn in front. That time Sidlowski shoots it just a little bit wide. Sidlowski looks to center that time to Thompson, who was teeing it up for the one-timer, but that was deflected away. Frenetic action here in the opening period, or the opening minute of period number 3. Big drive is gloved by Lurg, and the whistle blows. Again, the puck squirted out of the glove of Toledo goaltender Jeff Lurg, but referee Andy Howard didn't notice that, as he was at the opposite side of the goal, and Mike Embach skates over and says, "Why the whistle?" Alberga jousting with Jenks on the draw. Jenks has it, smacks it off the boards. And here come the Walleye in the breakout. Tyler Sakura comes across. Zarnazan tries to skate through the slot, but it skitters off of his stick back to the point. Nightingale comes cross-ice. Zarnazan with a wrist shot, scrum in front. And Nagle able to cover it up as bodies aplenty right at the goal mouth of the Komets. Now, any 2 points you can pick up on the road are huge points for the Komets, who have a respectable road record. They are 6-5. They have won their last 4 road games. And they are going to be spending a lot of time on the bus during this month. Again, next Friday and Sunday in the Quad Cities. Wednesday, January 13th in Cincinnati. And then they will have 3 consecutive home games the weekend of January 15, 16, and 17. Now Curtis Leonard, a deft move to break through a couple of Walleye. The puck winds up in the Toledo corner. Prochnow has it poked away by Kyle Thomas. Thomas has been playing very aggressively Great speed and a great work ethic. Now it was Daniels who pinched in, but the puck is poked out to neutral. Komet captain Jamie Shaftsma guides it over to Curtis Leonard, who again feathers it into the Toledo zone. Lurg snaps it around the boards. That time Shala has his heels clipped by the Komet captain Jamie Shaftsma, and the fans were looking for a penalty. Here comes Shella racing in, but poked away neatly by Southhorn. Kyle Thomas has it. Comley serves it across to Jordan Southhorn. Southhorn starts the breakout, has some room, flips it into the corner. Kashersky pursues. Schwinnard will flip it to neutral where it's gloved by Southhorn, and he'll again just dump it back in. So the Komets playing a little dump and chase here. Kashersky tries to slide underneath Bo Schmitz. Sidlowski pins it along the boards. Can he keep it deep? It's kicked out, and now starting back the other way, it comes cross ice to Berschbach, who has the lone Toledo goal. He leaves for Schmitz. Schmitz near the top of the circle, tries to slither it in front. Right in front, Berschbach is knocked down. Southhorn has it and leaves for Nikita Kashersky, who tries to flip the puck ahead. Chopped at by Thompson. Now Thompson has it, comes across Kashersky, little toe drag and a shot right on. A save that time, and Schwinnard gives him a chop right after the play. Well, by and large, referee Andy Howard has let both teams play. There's been a total of 5 penalties in the game. On the surface, it looks a little lopsided with 4 of them against the Komets, but 2 of the penalties called against the Komets have been delay of game calls for the puck being flipped out of the rink. Alberga, who has one of the goals in the game for the K's. Meurs has the other. The draw is won by Leone. And that is too sharp, so that should be an icing against Toledo. But no, it's waved off as the race is won that time by Kyle Bushy. Bushy's thrown to the ice, and the Komets are going to draw a penalty. Lurg is headed to the bench. The Komets finally control, and there'll be a holding call against the Komets. So yet another Toledo power play, and it will come at the 3:18 mark of period 3. It'll go against Will Weber. Well, that one was just a little too obvious, and Andy Howard had to call that one. So Toledo again goes on the power play. For the 5th time in the game, the Komets have been able to kill off the prior ones. Komets penalty kill, almost 85% at 84.9. That's been very proficient. Thomas wins the race and dumps it back into the Komet zone. Little pitch and catch now as Thomas spins and backhands it into the Toledo zone. Great play back and forth between Thomas and Southhorn. Now Jenks is circling in the Komet zone. He tight ropes the blue line as the pass comes ahead. They try to get it to Jenks, but good stick work by Thomas to poke it back to neutral. Jenks back to Joel Schwinnard. Schwinnard comes to center. Zarnazan with the backhand pass, kicked in by Jenks, and just chipped out that time by Jamie Shaftsma. Joel Schwinnard whirls, comes ahead to Berschbach, and it's offside against Toledo. Now, the Komets have done a pretty good job of discombobulating the Toledo power play. Still a minute and 13 seconds left in the Toledo man advantage. 15:55 left in the third, and the Komets holding on to the 2-1 lead. Pucks along the boards, drawn back to Prochnow. Prochnow takes the return pass that time from Bo Schmitz. Now Schmitz starts the rush. Schmitz carries into the Komet zone, leaves it across, comes to Prochnow. Prochnow takes a look. The Komet's in the box. And there's a shot right on that time. A slick shot by Tyler Maxwell that's guided away. Prochnow comes into the slot. And again is deflected away briefly. Can the Komets clear? Great work by Sidlowski to clear the zone. Josh Shalla spins, comes to Tyler Maxwell at center. Now return to Shalla. Shalla hounded that time by Mike Embach, who is great on the penalty kill. Embach now coming back to try to hound Schmitz, comes across to Prochnow. Kay's putting good pressure on the points. Sidlowski can't quite intercept the pass, and the shot by Maxwell slides through the goal mouth. Maybe a little piece that time by Nagle, and the K's able to clear the zone. Final 14 seconds of the power play. Toledo looking for one last rush. Nagle with the quick pass over. Hamonic will clear it. Goes off a Walleye player, and that time Nightingale. A delayed offside. Now the Walleye clear the zone. Cody Saul now realizes the Komets are at full strength as Weber comes back to the ice. He goes for a change, but Weber has to stay. Now he goes to the Komet bench. Hamonic slings it off the boards. That'll go the length of the rink, and it should be an icing call against the K's, but they'll take that to settle down and get their proper lines out. 14:27 left in the third. The Komets would love to come away with a perfect 3-for-3 weekend. A big 6 points as they are jousting with the Quad Cities Mallards for first place in the division. Toledo leading its division. Thompson has it poked away. Look out. Leone with a great shot and a save that time by Nagle. Looked like he took it off the shoulder. Stick side. Puck comes cross ice. Leone goes back to Jared Nightingale, the Walleye captain, ahead to Max Gady. Gady will flip it in. Racing in is Dejan Mingo. He's canceled off that time by Hamonic. And the K's look to break out. Garrett Thompson dumps it into the corner. Racing it is Sidlowski. He's given a rough ride by Chouinard. Thompson quickly circles behind the net. Fans on the pass, but now back to the point. Leonard has a chance to tee it up. His shot goes off the skate of Schmitz. Spinning around is Kashirski. Kashirski working behind the net. Again looks to center. Can't find anybody home, so he'll just rip it around behind. Daniels pinched in, comes back to Sidlowski. Top of the circle shot. Attempted tip by Thompson, goes into the corner. That'll be cleared the length of the rink, and it should be an icing. And an icing called on the Walleye. 13:21 to go here in period number 3. Komets have had 2 shots in the period, and the Walleye have had 5. Shots favor Toledo for the game, 27-21. Well, Shaftsman and Leone breaks his stick on the faceoff. Komets keep it in, dumped in on the backhand, that time by Kyle Thomas. Lurg backhands it across to Chouinard. Now Chouinard's pass, that time intended for Sakura. A couple of Komets on him. Weber tries to poke it back in. Well, the aggressive Komets. That pass a little too sharp and behind Shaftsma. Nightingale across to Chouinard. Chouinard just banks it off the boards. It goes virtually nowhere. Here's Shaftsma. Has it poked away by Bushy, who loses his stick. Chopped at by Tyler Maxwell, and it's dumped into the Komet corner. Soul takes a look over the shoulder behind a Weber. Weber feeds it ahead along the half wall. Good job by Nightingale to keep it in. Shaftsma knocked it down with a glove. Shaftsma that time was knocked down by Maxwell, and a shot right on by Nightingale that is smothered once again by Pat Nagle. We have a timeout at the Huntington Center, 12:25 to go in period 3. The Komets lead Toledo 2-1. You're watching My Komets on My TV.
Parkview Sports Medicine.
Well, as my old coach and the junior Komets said back in the day, steady Eddie Long, boys, 20 minutes to Broadway when you were going into the third period of a close game. Right now it's 12 minutes and 20 seconds for the Komets, who lead Toledo 2-1. And the K's have done a great job of bottling up the Walleye ever since that first goal by Shane Berschbach just over 3 minutes into the game. A weak shot that was jumped into the Komet zone is smothered up that time by Pat Nagle. So the face-off will be to the right of the outstanding Komet goaltender, Pat Nagle. Nagle coming into the game with a fabulous record of 10-5-2, a couple of shutouts, and a 2.23 goals against average. Draw goes back to the point, pinching in that time is Chouinard. Bumped off the play, A.J. Jenks, a very dangerous player. He's pushed off the play that time. So some serious rubbing along the boards between Jenks and Big Will Weber, the Komet defenseman. Now in the corner, another battle going on with Sakura and Soul. Komets just look to clear. Embach, big cross ice pass that time for Meurs. Meurs bangs it off the boards. And that should not be an icing, and a great call that time by linesman Jesse Plesh. So Toledo racing out. Berschbach has it poked away by Sidlowski. Sidlowski racing in, looking to center. He puts a shot right on the short side, and Lurg had to be prepared for the glove as Sid was trying to sneak it inside the post. Now into the zone. Southhorn takes a look, backhands it to Hamonic. Bumped off the play that time by Jenks, but here come the K's breaking out. Nikita Kashirski. Kashirski at the top of the circle. Little toe drag. Tries to work past Dokken. Now Thompson has it. Spins in the corner. Double team that time by Prochnow and Dokken. That time down goes Garrett Thompson. And it's cleared to center. Hamonic controls. Comes across. Southhorn back to Hamonic. That's just poked in by Kyle Thomas. Well, Lurg took a look, and that thing just whistled through the crease, so there was no icing on the play. Andrew Prochnow tries to come across to Leone, but that's in the feet of Brock Montgomery. So the K's have really bottled up the neutral zone. Now it's Montgomery on the turnover. Tried to center it, but that caromed off a Walleye skate. Gady looks for a left wing. Leone has to race over. Can't quite control. Bumped right along his own boards by Brock Montgomery. Again, that goes off a Komet. Controlled by Montgomery, just drops it back to Drew Daniels. And we are halfway through period number 3. The Komets clinging to the 2-1 lead. Kicked back to neutral. Leonard just rips it along the boards. Komets go for a full line change. Schaffma. Now ahead it comes to Dejan Mingo. Mingo working on Weber. Along the half wall, now it's Weber racing behind his own net. Pinching in again neatly is Chouinard, but the Komets come away with it. Here's Garrett Meurs. Meurs tries to backhand it in. Lurg dumps it into the corner. Schmitz has stepped into that time by Garrett Meurs. It's been a very fast-paced game, and especially here in the third period. Embach is knocked down from behind that time by Tyler Maxwell. Well, throughout the game, referee Andy Howard more or less has let the teams play, and it looks like he's really doing that in the third period. K's try to dump it in, but can't. Berschbach racing in, always dangerous, waiting for some other blue shirts to come in. That's too strong that time for Jarnazan. And just dumping it in that time is Meurs as the Komets go for a change. 9 minutes even to go, period 3. 2-1 Komets. A.J. Jenks tries to sift past Sidlowski, but in the process, one too many moves, and he went offside. 8:51 to go in period 3. The Komets lead Toledo 2-1. You're watching My Komets on My TV.
Presented by Parkview Sports Medicine.
Well, the Komet penalty kills tonight, and there have been 5 of them successfully executed, brought to you by Parkview Physicians Group. Hey, when you can't wait to see your doctor, go to the walk-in clinic. That's part of the PPG community of care, Parkview First Care. Get in, get better, get going. Call 877-PPG today to find the First Care location nearest you. Puck is dropped and the K's dump it in. Bo Schmitz is being chased by Garrett Thompson. Well, there's 3 Walleye in the corner to a pair of Komets. And right now the clock is starting to become favorable to the Komets, but an awful lot can happen in 8.5 minutes. Thompson. Sidlowski comes back to Southhorn. Southhorn, well, fakes the shot, serves it back into the corner for Thompson. Comes back to the point. Southhorn will snap it back in with authority. Thompson is pinched off that time by Leone. Chouinard races in. Kashirski keeps things going as Chouinard falls to the ice. Max Gady. That time Thompson is just thrown to the ice right in front of Andy Howard and no call. So you have to figure that may be the way things will go here in period 3, and that time Schmitz gives the rough ride to Southhorn. Well, that's one thing that will happen if you figure that the referee is not going to blow the whistle. All sorts of hijinks could happen. Now racing in is Mingo. Mingo tries to slide by Hamonic, but he can't do it. Schaffsma couldn't control. Thomas having a little trouble. The puck is bouncing around in the Komet zone. Schaffsma tries to control, dumps it into the corner. Kyle Thomas takes a look, tries to flip it out, but can't. Whirling, there's a shot right on that deflects on the goal, and Nagle had to be ready as the Komets running around a bit in their own zone. And Toledo realizing now it has to play with some more desperation with 7:23 left in period number 3. Komets will have a big 3-game homestand, which is interesting, with 10 road games and 4 home games in the month of January. 3 of those home games for the Komets will come back to back to back January 15th, 16th, and 17th. And talked about this, where Toledo will have 10 of 12 games in the month of January here at the Huntington Center. Face-offs now ever so crucial. Embach on this draw as the original centerman was chased out. It winds up carrying off the netting and then winds up in the glove of Pat Nagle. 7:18 remaining. Face-offs, oh so crucial. Shaftsma, but that time it was deftly picked away by A.J. Jenks, who just tries to throw it back behind the net. Jenks looks to center. High off the glass by Shaftsma, and it winds up on the stick of Thomas, who tries to dump it in. That'll be offside against the Komets as it hit the glass. And the puck dropped down outside of the blue line while Montgomery was racing in, so an unfortunate bounce for the Komets. Kyle Thomas right near the penalty box area bangs his stick off of one of the stanchions saying, hey, you gave me a raw deal on that bounce that put us offside. Shaftsma against Leone. Drawn back, Thomas has it. Dropped back to Drew Daniels across to Curtis Leonard. Leonard smacks it into the corner. It rings around the boards where it's picked up by Montgomery. He guides it around for Shaftsma, who looked to dump it back to the point. Now Thomas does. That shot is tipped by Montgomery, but just over the netting. Out in front, Shaftsma looking center. Wraparound attempt that time by Daniels, but no. Pinching the pipe that time was Jeff Lurg. Comes back to neutral where Daniels circles and then feeds it across to Leonard, who again dumps it into the Toledo zone. 6.5 minutes left in the third. Andrew Prochnow ahead to Dokken, but controlled by the Komets, and it comes across to Will Weber. Komets now realize they don't have to be in any particular hurry. Let the puck do the work. Spinning, Alberga was trying to center that time for Meurs, but again it got clogged up in traffic. Embach back to the point. Weber the one-timer, tipped that time by Alberga. It was a great save by Lurg. Puck was briefly in Alberga's feet. Now as Meurs tries to play, held off the play by Prochnow. Can the K's keep it in? Embach does. Alberga puts it on, glove that time by Lurg. And that will facilitate a face-off. And we have a timeout here in the Huntington Center. 5 minutes, 50 seconds left in regulation. The Komets lead Toledo 2-1. You're watching My Komets on My TV.
View Sports Medicine.
Now back at the Huntington Center, the Komets control the face-off. Embach comes back to the point to Weber. Weber takes a look. Tries to feed the pass behind the net and off the boards. K's look to center again, but it's intercepted by Mingo. Mingo throws the pass that time into the feet of Shala, now controlled by Sol. Just tries to feather the pass ahead to Meurs, but intercepted by Toledo. Comes across. Oh, Shala looked to center it right to Mingo, cutting through the crease area. Maybe should have taken the shot, so the Komets come back, and Meurs takes the hit from Chouinard, then dumps it into the corner. 5:16 to go in period number 3. The pass a little too strong that time for Tyler Maxwell. Now he has it along the boards, but Thompson just chops it in. Now Kashirski quickly moving the feet. Bangs into Chouinard. Chouinard tumbles down. Thompson looks to center. Nobody really there. Sidlowski pursues Schmitz, gives him a big hit. That time Schmitz just slashes Sidlowski. Kashirski looks to center. Schmitz throws Kashirski to the ice. Howard takes a look, but again the arm stays down. 4:44 to go, period number 3. Jordan Southorn spins around. Will flip it to the right side. Schwinnard ahead. That is a deft pass, Leone. But again, his pass goes behind. That should be an offside, but they say no. And racing in, looking to center, is Zarnazan. One-timer by Nightingale. Oh, what a great save, and then it goes off the post. Great first stop that time by Nagle with the blocker. Then it looked like it caromed off the post. 4:14 to go in regulation. Toledo will be dialing up the pressure. Leonard behind the net. Daniels feeds it ahead, and it's chipped out by Brock Montgomery. The race is on. Zarnazan just tries to make sure he can put the body between. Intercepted by the Komets. Great move by Shaftsma, but Lurg was there for the pad save. That would have been critical. Shaftsma controls and spins. Throws it on net. Lurg will smother. And there'll be a face-off now, and the clock has wound down. 3:49 left in regulation as an errant pass by the Walleye wound up on the stick of Shaftsma. He was in a little tight on the net, and Lurg was able to smother it with his body. Now, can the Komets hold off the Walleye for another 3 minutes and 49 seconds? Shaftsma wins the draw, comes back to the point. Southhorn with a drive. Oh, big pad save that time by Lurg. Into the corner. Prochnow pinches off. Kyle Thomas. Kays just looked to keep it in and keep that clock running. Sakura spins, carries the puck into the Komet zone. Montgomery just shoveled back behind the net by Sakura. Takes the return pass. He looks to center. Berschbach has it go off his shin guard, and the Kays look to break out. Kyle Thomas with speed will just dump it neatly into the corner, and the Kays go for a line change. These will be about 40, 50-second shifts tops in the last part of this game. Cross-ice pass for Mingo, and intercepted by the Komets. They could have numbers. Embach comes across that time for Meurs. Meurs in the corner, spins away that time from Dokken. Meurs taken to the ice. That time looked like Shala pulled his feet out from under him. But it will probably take something egregious to get a penalty called here in the final 3 minutes. There's a shot from behind by Prochnow on Embach. Komets are very content to let it happen like this. Meurs, little tug-of-war that time with Dokken as they both go to the ice. Kays just keep it in. Weber off the boards, dumps it behind the net. Great job by Embach. Comes back to Weber, his one-timer. Ooh, steered aside once again on the short side. Down to 2:26. Komets keeping the pressure on. Meurs is going for a line change. And here comes Toledo. Maxwell can't dump it in. Kays look for the breakout. Neatly off the skate that time at Embach, but poked away by Schmitz. Saul will flip it in. Gloved by Lurg, knocked down. And now we'll have to start and look at Jeff Lurg to see when he might be pulled. Gady slides in. Into the corner, Bushy takes the heavy hit. Now the Komets will be concentrating on just clearing the zone. Daniels puts it ahead. Komets have a 2-on-1. Here's Thompson. He looks. He shoots. Big glove save that time with the blocker by Jeff Lurg. Glorious opportunity for the Komets. Back to the point. We have 100 seconds left in regulation. Into the corner. Sidlowski shoves his man off the play. And here come the Walleye, and Lurg is heading for the bench. So Toledo has pulled the goaltender, but icing is called on the Walleye. So Lurg, as quickly as he got to the bench, will have to return between the pipes. 1:29 left in regulation. Komets will have Shaftsma, Thomas, Montgomery, and Hamonic and Southhorn at the point. Leone will take the draw for the Walleye. And now there's a timeout called. So the teams can plot their strategy for the final minute 29. Komets have 9 shots here in the period, and Toledo has 8. And if you just might be tuning in, Toledo a 1-0 lead after one period. Shane Berschbach scored the Toledo goal just 3 minutes and 9 seconds into the game. And then in period 2, Garrett Meurs netted the tying goal at the 2:47 mark. And then at the 15:32 mark, Dominique Alberga, his second goal in as many nights, giving the Komets the 2-1 lead after 2. And so far, it has been a scoreless period 3. There's only been one penalty in the period, and that was assessed to Will Weber, holding at the 3:18 mark. Komets have had 4 of the 5 penalties called. Toledo just the 1. And again, 2 of the Komet penalties have been delay of games for flipping the puck out of the ice surface. Well, big face-off here. That time Leone just turtled down to the ice to try to win the draw. And Lurg again races to the bench, as spinning behind his net is Berschbach. So Toledo with a man advantage with the goalie out. Can the Komets just get control? Big drive and a glove save as Jenks, a whistling shot ticketed for the low corner, and a good glove save that time by Pat Nagle, but that is what the Walleye wanted, a face-off in the Komet zone. Now down to 1:10 to play. And the Komets sending out Kashirski for this critical face-off against Jenks, and Jenks has been a great face-off man for the Walleye. But especially with the extra man with the goaltender pulled, a face-off is critical. Kashirski tries to jump the gun, and let's see if he's tossed. He is not. Kashirski is tossed out of the face-off circle this time. Well, he was trying to gain the advantage by jumping the drop. He was given grace the first time, but the second time tossed out. So now it's Sidlowski. I think they need to put a second back on the clock because we had 1:10, and during the 2 unsuccessful drops, it went down to 1:09, and that second could be extremely critical. Well, now they try to reset the clock, and it says 11:09. Now they have it set at 1:10. So Sidlowski, a rare face-off. And Sidlowski cleanly wins it. Southhorn rips it around the boards, and the Komets clear it. Goes to center. Jenks will again just rip it around. Nagle watches as it goes along the boards. And a whistle, and I believe there'll be a Toledo offside. It goes to show the importance of the face-off, and Sean Sidlowski cleanly drew the puck away from A.J. Jenks. The Komets able to wrap it around the boards and at least get it to the neutral zone. 1:+1 left in the third. Jenks and Kashirski. Kashirski just ties Jenks up, but it's dumped into the Komet zone. Hamonic takes a look, takes the heavy hit that time. Sakura to Jenks. Jenks loses control. Sidlowski will clear it the length of the rink. The Komets don't mind at all. That'll be an icing. But it takes time off the clock, and now just over 47 seconds left. Well, and this is what the teams spend countless hours practicing on, are these special teams situations late in a game, goalie pulled in your end, and winning the faceoffs. Kashirski again picks the pocket of Jenks, and Southhorn rings it around the boards, and the Komets able to chip it out. That goes for another icing. Southhorn thought that maybe deflected off of a Toledo player along the boards. And now we're down to 39 seconds. It might not be fancy, but the Komets will take this all night long to take time off that clock and to keep the puck out of the control of the Walleye. Another critical face-off. Kashirski again outduels Jenks. Hamonic off the boards. Again, off one of those funny stanchions so it can't clear. There's a scrum right along the wall. Can the Komets get a stick on it? Racing into Southhorn. Wraps it around the board. Chouinard fell, and he couldn't keep it in. Now racing in is Thompson, and Thompson, oh, he misses the net. His stick broke. His stick broke, but he had an open net. Down to the final 15 seconds. Jenks ahead, Chouinard. Chouinard tries to move past Weber. Weber rides him off the play. They throw it in front. Big save by Nagle. Komets need one more clear, and this should do it. 4 seconds, 3, 2, Embach pursues Jenks, and hockey game, the Komets hold on for the big win. It got dicey toward the end, but the K's empty the bench to swarm Pat Nagle. Another sensational effort by Pat Nagle, and the Komets make it a perfect 3-for-3 weekend. Back-to-back wins over Indianapolis, and then they come and win a game in the Huntington Center for the first time in their last 7 tries. What an effort by the Fort Wayne